Morning, everybody. We're going to talk about the drill press and basic use today. We're going to go over safety procedures, we're going to go over parts of the drill press, and then we're going to go over basic operations. As always, when you're using any of the tools in the Tech Arts, you need to have your safety glasses on, so that's the first thing you're going to want to go get, and they're on the rolling cart over by the offices. We have 3 drill presses in the shop. We have the Delta, we have the new Powermatic, and we have the older green Powermatic. The older green Powermatic has some great features in that it's adjustable speed, so you can do that up at the top. It also has a foot activated down feed. So if your hands are holding something, or your hands are holding clamps, or your hands aren't available, you can operate that drill press with the foot activation. The Delta is a very good drill press, except if you need to change speeds, you have to do it manually, where you open up the top and you change the belts, and it's fairly time consuming. That's why whenever I'm doing anything, I go straight for the newer Powermatic. It's got the adjustable speed right up here, which we'll get into in a minute, and just lots of other great features. The first thing you're going to want to do when you're going to go drill is pick out the drill bit you want to use. And I've got 3 different ones here that you can take a look at. I've got a standard twist bit right here, which has a spiral with it. We have a spade bit for doing bigger holes, and these spade bits can get all the way up to like 3 inches. And then we have a Forstner bit, and the Forstner bits also can get up rather large, 3, 3.5, almost 4 inch with it. This is good for small holes all the way up to about 1/2 inch. The spade bit is really for roughing, something that you really wouldn't be using really fine carpentry. It's got this large poke coming through at the bottom. It tends to tear up the underside of the wood. But the drill bits that I always go for are the Forstner bits. And the way they're designed is they've got these 2 long cutting areas there, and then they've got cutters all the way around on the outside, and they're essentially shaving that wood down. So it's a very accurate, very clean, and you can also do a bottom cut where you get a nice flat bottom at the bottom of something if you were going to put a round bar into a block of wood. It's also got the poke right there in the center so that you can line it up. So the first thing you're going to want to do is on this drill press, unlike the other two are with a standard key on a chuck where you put it in and you take the chuck key and you turn. This one is called a keyless chuck. So by turning this here counterclockwise, you can get your drill bit up and inside there, and then you just lock in by doing this motion here. Just the 2 of them against each other. If you want to take it apart, you do them the opposite direction. So now that we've got that up in there, the next thing we're going to talk about is how to raise this table up and down. And it is extremely important that once you start to do that, once you start to raise this table up and down, you have to, absolutely have to, take off the brake, which is right back here. It's just a hand crank, and that will allow you to do the rack and pinion on this side and move it up. If you don't let go of the brake, or you don't disengage it, what will happen is you'll start to turn that crank, and you'll think you're turning the table up and down, but you'll actually be bending the rack and pinion. So if there's anything that's almost the most important when you go to use this machine, other than safety, please always remember to undo the brake and then re-engage it once you've got the height of the table up there. So what I'm going to show you right now is drilling into a piece of wood like this. And what we can do is, say if we want to drill in the center of it, we can always grab our combination square, and if we measure this out, we're at 1 3/4. So I found the center here, but what I've also done is I've flipped it around and I've double checked my center from both sides. And that way the difference between the 2 lines is your true center. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start us off on a hole that, say, is 2 inches here, and we'll go another 2 inches and another 2 inches, so that we're going to have 3 holes total, all 2 inches apart, all running down the center right like this. Now, if we wanted to, we could line ourselves up every single time and keep moving it through. But what I'm going to suggest is when you have something like this that you're doing, that you use this guard that can easily slip into the back here. And it has T-nuts that you can see right here, 2 of them, and they're going to slide into these channels right here. What we can do is reach around, get them into those slots, and now we can bring this over. The one other really nice feature about this drill press is, you might not be able to see it from there, but this right here, we have a laser on here. So if I have my line drawn, I can line it up to my laser right away for accuracy. And it also helps as we're setting up, we know if we're staying exactly where we want it to be. I'm going to tap this back just a hair, and there we are. One thing we might want to do while we're setting up that fence is just chuck it for square like this. So I'm going to again take my combination square, I'm going to run it right here, and I'm going to look at this, and actually this is out of square. So I'm going to adjust this so that it's square and perpendicular with our edge, and we're good with this. Now what that'll allow me to do is, as I run down, I know that I'm on my line the entire way. So if we had a series of holes that, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 holes in a row that we wanted to do, and we wanted them to be straight, that would allow that to happen. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and decide how far down I want to be drilling. And I think since we were 2 inches in, maybe we'll go a 1-inch depth. And so on the edge here, I'm going to set my combination square for 1 inch. And I'm just going to draw a line on the side, right there. That's the depth we want. What I can do now is, I can do this one of 2 ways. I can either bring this over and stop it, and then these 2 nuts right here, what you can do is you can bring them all the way down until it stops with the first nut. And then while the machine is going, that nut's going to have a tendency to wiggle. So what we want to do is we want to take this second nut, which is called a lock nut, and we're going to bring it down, and we're going to cinch the 2 of those together. Now we have an accurate stop. One other way to do that is, if you didn't want to draw a line right here, you could take your drill bit, you could bring it all the way down, and essentially this point right here becomes your 0 point. And then we can measure on this measuring stick right here. We can measure up 1 inch either with this, or we can grab another tool, whether it be a tape measure or a ruler, and we can just confirm that yes, indeed, we are set for 1 inch. So we have our depth set. We have our drill locked on. One of the great things about this drill press is these 2 wings can come out to support long pieces. Or with these locks right down here, we can bring them in and lock them in place if we don't want to have something tipping like that. So very versatile in that way. So we've got them locked back down. The thing I mentioned originally about this is it's got a variable speed. If you are doing a really large drill bit, anything bigger than say 1 inch, you're going to want to slow this speed way, way down, especially a big 3-inch bit. You want that going at about 400 RPMs, which is the slowest speed we can do on here. The way you adjust the speed is you turn this on, you loosen this nut, and you can just push, and you can see we're now at about 1300 RPMs, which for a drill bit that size is just perfect. We have a chart that's available that you can look up your exact speeds for the size hole that you're doing. So we're going to leave that at 1300, but we're not going to necessarily drill yet. I'm going to turn this back off because we have our correct speed here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use these Jorgensen clamps, which are the ones I really like. And I'm just going to grab this piece of wood right in the back, right like that, so that I know it's all good and everything's ready. I've got my glasses on. You, if you don't have glasses, will want to be wearing your safety glasses. And here we go. Now, one thing you might also want to do is either have a bench brush handy, or you can hook up a shop vac. And after each time, or after several, you're going to want to get all of that wood shavings back out of the way for yourself. And then we can move over, we can get our line one more time. What I'm going to do now is grab it from this side. Now, this wood happens to be very, very soft, so it's going to cut really, really easy. If I wanted to, I could probably just hold this right up against the fence with my hand and still get a really good, accurate drill with that. You can see the Forstner bit clogs up just a little bit, so you're going to want to make sure that's off. And here we go, 2 holes right there. We're going to do the third. If you don't feel comfortable holding that in place, then by all means, take the Jorgensens and put them on right like that. Now, a few other features that I want to show you on this drill press is that hole was going down at a 90-degree angle, very perpendicular. But if we wanted to, we can take the box wrench, which is a 15/16, and it's always got the blue tape, and it's kept in the red toolbox over there in a drawer labeled box wrenches. What we can do is we can set this now for an angle if we wanted to do an angled cut on there. And what we would do is disengage this nut up underneath by turning counterclockwise, and on the back right here is a degree gauge. So I'm going to have us drill some 15-degree holes, and I'm going to tighten this back up. Remember, when you take it out of the 90-degree position, there's a cotter pin right here that you pull to release. You turn it and it disengages, or you can set it back in. So now we've got this set at a 15 degrees, and what I'm going to do is in between all of our old holes, I'm going to put a new hole that's going to be 1 inch in from all those others. So now we've got two new locations. And you can see I lined it up with the laser, so I know exactly where I want to be. And again, I'm going to take this Jorgensen clamp and just clamp to the back side right here. Now we're all set. Oh, look at that. I can't drill because my clamp is in the way. Now I could do one of two things. I could replace it with a clamp on this side, or what I can also do is take that particular arm out. It just unscrews, and now I have clearance that I should be able to get down in there and not hit this clamp. Let's see how we do that. I'm going to start an angle drill very, very slowly. We've got it set for the same depth we had before. And there we go. We'll go ahead and we'll put a pin in that in a second, but you can see that it's now running this direction. And I'm going to do the other one the opposite direction so that they're both coming out almost like a V. The other reason I like these Jorgensen clamps is traditional C clamps are going to have that arm right there that's going to move, and I don't like that because a lot of times it gets caught up on something. So I'm going to leave these Jorgensen clamps. There we go. Series of holes, 2 of them coming out at 15-degree angles, and 3 of them coming out at a 90-degree angle. So that worked really well with something that we could put up against the fence here. But what I want to talk about now is, what if we have something that is an irregular shape? In other videos, we'll get into how to drill with round pieces of wood that we want to do, both on the ends and in the center. But right now, we're going to stick to just this irregular shape. So I'm going to take this fence back off. We're going to undo the nuts in the back. One other thing that we did not use with this fence this time, but we could have if we had a lot of holes, is you can hook up a shop vac right here, and in between there, it'll suck all of your wood chips out. But for just these 2 holes, I didn't feel like we needed to do that. I'm going to take the 15/16 box wrench with the blue tape. I'm going to go back up underneath here, and I'm going to loosen this counterclockwise. This whole table will move now. I'm going to look there. I'm going to set it back to 0. We're locked in place. I'm going to turn clockwise and just sit it down. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pick a random place. I'm not going to use any of my combination squares or anything like that, but I'm just going to pick us to do a hole right there. And what I think we'll do is we'll get away from this little one that we were using, and I'm going to grab a little bit bigger of one, and I'm going to put it up in. I'm just going to turn right like that. And you can see, I can see my laser where it is, and more importantly, I can see the laser that's coming through this insert right here. So if I wanted to drill a hole completely through here, it would work because I'd be into this negative space here. But when you do make a through hole being something all the way through, what I'd prefer that you did is put a backer underneath it like this, so that when we come down, we're all the way in it like that. This backer happens to be a little bit big, so we would need something that's a little bit smaller because of the way we're going to clamp. So I'm going to leave that backer off right now, and we're not going to drill all the way through because I think it's more important to show you how we would clamp this up. So if we take these wood clamps, such as these right here, they're really great because you can open them up and they can come into V's. They can do V's in either direction, or they can be parallel. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab this right like that. And you can see how it can grab something in a really odd shape. This one's coming down like this one's running over parallel. And now we have this on our mark. What we're going to do is we're going to clamp this down to our table. Again, I like the Jorgensen clamps, and we're going to want to use 2 clamps because a single clamp is a pivot point. So we've got our clamps. Underneath this table, there's some ridges, and we want to avoid the ridges, and we want to be able to come right up into the flats right there, which means that that arm is going to be extended up into the table there. You can see that I'm on this side. I've got it coming down. Now we've got 2 clamps holding our big clamp, which is holding our irregular shaped piece of wood. And I'm going to kind of wing this in that I know that that piece of wood is 1.5 inches deep, and I think we're going to make a 1-inch depth hole right there. So I'm going to zero that out. And I'm going to look here. I'm going to set it for 1-inch depth. So I can look and read that that's going to be 1 inch right there. Now remember, when we went to this bigger size Forstner bit, we're going to want to slow this down a bit. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to bring this over, and I'm going to get us to about 500, 550 RPMs. I guess about 565. What we can also do is, if we wanted, we can put our arm here back on. And we are all set. You can see it's nice and secure. We've got the 2 clamps holding the big clamp. Nothing's moving at all. And we've got the depth. And we're all set. There's our very accurate hole. You can see it's got a really nice flat bottom with it right there. If we were going to do a through hole with this, what we probably want to do is get a piece of wood that we could use as a backer so that we could drill through our original and into something. You can see how people were doing it right here. But we don't want that to be so big that we can't grab it with a clamp like this. And that's it. There'll be other videos that talk in the future about drilling into round pieces of wood, and some more examples of drilling into bottoms of chairs for legs to come out. But that's the basic operations today. Again, one of the most important things is undo the brake when you're going to raise that table up and down, and then re-engage the brake right there. Thanks. Have a good day.